We are live. And welcome everyone. This is Lowell Ann. I'm the moderator of the Mastermind Hangout called Being Your Own CEO. Welcome here. And I want to welcome my partners in crime, Nancy Crites and Sue Ferreira. And we thought we would have a conversation this morning about elders and money. So in the intro, I left you with a question to ponder. What would happen to you financially if you lived to be 100? So that was that's a pretty loaded question. What do you think about that, Sue? What about you? Where does your mind go when you hear that question?
Well, you know me, Lowell Ann, that goes to my entire program, Reinvent Your Life to Live Your Retirement Dream, and it's absolutely crucial. That question is fundamental to everything that I'm doing right now. You know that I was a physician for over 40 years, and I saw this longevity increase and increase and increase. And I tell you, we live here in Victoria, British Columbia, where we have a lot of older folks. And you probably know that question of why are there so many old people in Victoria, to which the answer is they're here to look after their parents. And that is the truth. I mean, I see patients, or I have seen patients 98, 100, they live independently, and we are going in exactly the same direction. In fact, the insurance companies in 2001, they increased their maximum insurable life from 100 to 120. So maybe, Lowell Ann, the question should be, what would happen if you lived to 120? Now, I could spend the rest of the hangout actually talking about that subject, but I'm not going to dominate. So over to someone else.
Well, that's great. What a great start.
Change it to 120. Okay.
Yep,
So
that's where insurance companies went.
Where does your mind go when you get asked that question?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it goes to excitement. And the work that I do with people is rediscovering your brilliance and manifesting the power of you. And as we step into gaining clarity and vibrant health and soul nourishment, I mean, the sky's the limit. And what comes along with, I believe, people who are living to 120, I would be willing to bet that they also have a very, very positive, optimistic outlook on life. Mm-hmm. And that's, to me, that's the real secret, is continuing to be vibrant, alive, excited when you get up every morning. And, tapping into the wisdom and the resources that you have built and acquired over those many years that you've been alive. So to me, that's where the secret lies, is just in all of that, the manifestation and the wisdom.
But what about the financial aspect?
Well, for the financial aspect,
we've all got the wisdom.
Okay.
What do we do with it? And
you harness it. You harness it and you get creative. And to me, the model of getting a job and retiring at 65, we've talked about this in the previous hangouts, but to me it's about being creative. And myself, I did the math this morning. I have 6 streams of income. And I'm not relying on just one source of income, like a pension or CPP or whatever it might be. I have gotten very resourceful, and it gets me up every morning with a purpose and passion. And, people do have a lot of wisdom, things that they've done through their careers that they can tap into, that they can offer in a whole new way. So that's my feeling, is you just get very creative and look at what you have to offer and how you can recreate that. Rediscover who you are.
So one piece that you said that jumps out for me is when you said you have 6 streams of income. And I myself have more than one stream of income as well, and I would venture to guess that Sue would be saying the same.
Yep, absolutely.
So, and when we think about having more than one stream of income, whether that's pension and so forth and so on, that is where the creativity comes in, isn't it? So trying to discover what else can be done in line with that things that we can do that will bring in another additional source of income. And so, I mean, if as Sue, you were mentioning that the people that we see here in Victoria, I mean, we're sometimes known as the land of the newlywed and the nearly dead.
And that's interesting. I'll pick that up because that's where we are now, right? And we're only just at the beginning of this massive baby boom going through. I mean, I'm on the leading edge, right? So I'm looking at it and knowing that I'm on the crest of the wave and the wave is behind me. And I think we know, absolutely know, that 80% of baby boomers across the planet, in the English-speaking Western world, that's 110 million people, 80% of them, or around 80 million, already know they don't have enough income, savings, investments to last their lifestyle. Their expected lifespan. I think a lot of them haven't worked out just how long that lifespan is likely to be, as long as we don't mess up this planet in any way, which we could, or who they will become 20 years from now. It's fine when you're still in your 60s and early 70s to think about generating income actively, but the ability to generate income passively beyond, say, your 70s and 80s is crucial. So that's what my program is doing. It's trying to say, take just what Nancy and you said, take your knowledge, your wisdom, your skills, your passions, and turn them into some kind of a product that you initially can actively promote, but then you can turn into a stream of passive income, which can go on for years and years. And I think, personally, I actually know that's what an awful lot of folks have to do, but they don't necessarily have the talent to turn that into a business and a product. So that's what I'm looking at doing to help them on their way to do exactly that. I think the problem is absolutely huge.
So define a little for our listeners what exactly what you mean by passive income.
Well, for me, and I think Nancy, we're the same, passive income is something you're not actively working for all the time. It's something that comes in every month, whether or not you actually actively do anything to have it come in. I mean, if you have rental properties, and hopefully any rental property you have, you are bringing in a rent that is greater than any outgoing costs, which is mortgage plus taxes. That's passive income.
Right.
Any program you can put on the web that people will buy all the time, 24/7, 365 days a year, without your having to be there, is passive income. There's many, many more. I mean, interest from investments is passive income, but that's a little bit more unreliable because basically investments are a bit like being in the casino, and you're basically playing a lottery in the casino with your investments. But real estate and a program that you can have online that continues to generate income, that's passive income. That's what I see that.
And Nancy, you have another definition of passive income, don't you?
Well, I have an example of my own life. When I had a health crisis a few years ago and was unable to work for a year, I did not do any income generating activities at all. And the health sciences business I'm affiliated with, I received a check every single Friday for that whole time. And that really spelled out to me the power of residual income. Passive income, you do the work up front, like Sue said. Now, while we have the energy, we have the ability to do it. And then it's the solid groundwork. And then it just continues to grow. And you put some attention there, but you don't have to work hard at it, if that's the term. But so to me, that's been a very, very powerful experience in my life, and it made me actually sit up and pay attention to the power of that passive income, because I'd sort of taken it for granted, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I think that at least from my experience my own experience throughout a career in government, where you knew you had a pension, etc., and you just kind of went along, kind of assuming it was all going to sort of take care of itself, until one day you kind of wake up and give your head a shake. And unfortunately, there are so many people who don't take the time to learn about money and how it works and the economy and all of those things. And so, the statistics that you're giving, Sue, they're quite alarming, aren't they?
So yeah, I haven't even started. You're right, but you just made a good point. I'll just pick that one up quickly, Lowell Ann. Is the whole thing of pensions. Now, I don't have a pension. I've always been self-employed, and a lot of people are in my situation. But what I think almost the group that worries me most coming up in the next 20 to 40 years are the folks who think they're going to get a pension.
Yeah.
And they probably will get a bit of a pension. But we all know, and this is happening across North America, it's happened in Canada, I can give you examples. It's happened in the United States, I can give you examples. Where, in fact, there's this pension modification. Don't you love that? And sorry, I'll say it. Bullshit word. Because pension modification has never and will never benefit the pensioner. It's always a cutback. You'll get it later, you'll get less, or you pay more into your pension. And if you actually do the math on pensions coming up or Social Security, well, that's a scary one too. So even if you've got a pension, you should be thinking about generating additional streams of income for yourself over the next 20 to 40 decades.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 to 4 decades.
So we had, for the benefit of our viewers, we had done a little bit of discussing about some of the things that we thought would be a good thing for us to kind of cover in this conversation. And we've just kind of randomly sort of messed around with that question of what would happen if we live to, now it's 120. But what do you think most elders or boomers are experiencing right now when it comes to money?
Well, the people in my life at that age, they're talking about downsizing. They're
Mm-hmm.
talking about being clearly mortgage free if they're not now. And they're talking about, again, getting creative. Like, should we invest in a condo and rent it out on Airbnb or whatever it might be, and then enjoy it in different times of the year? People are, I believe, aware that there is a situation that's changed. It's definitely changed, and that and we look at our parents, and we don't want to be like that. We want to be sure that we're in a better place than that. So I feel that we are looking, and downsizing seems to be the really primary one that I'm seeing all around me at this point in time. But how about you?
Well, yeah, downsizing, and but I what I'm noticing is that there are people who are really worried, and they kind of don't know what to do about it.
I think you've just hit the nail on the head, Lowell Ann. It's anxiety, and that's what I got out of it. I just recently surveyed through my website. I did a survey, and that's what came back. I gave them five points of which was the one that worried them most, what kept them awake at night. And it was 83.4% came back with money, and then more money. So I think they're right. And again, because I'm loaded with statistics, females over the age of 75 are the fastest growing group, which slip into poverty with age. And I think you're right. There's lots of reasons. one of them you've just mentioned, which is financial illiteracy. Another one is losing a partner, whether it's a death or a divorce, and finding out they knew nothing about their financial situation. And then third is this unexpected longevity, which is threats up on us all.
Could you say the last one again? I didn't quite get it.
Well, I think again it's the longevity. We looked at our parents, and they kind of were expected to live till about 70. And, it's fine. You can finance yourself for 5 years or maybe 7 or 10. But heck, all of a sudden, we're looking at financing ourselves from the same financial situation for 20, 30, 40 years. Whoa, that's a different ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'd be curious to know you said that money was the top thing in your survey, Sue. What was the second one?
Healthcare. I mean, it comes back to money.
Yeah.
But accessibility to healthcare and healthcare costs. And that comes back to me again because that's been my world for my entire life.
Right.
And those are very valid concerns. And then everything else, the other questions were things like children, family, relationships. They kind of fell off the chart.
Yeah.
It really is money, 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 and then healthcare and healthcare costs.
So, I mean, we certainly we know that there are a lot of limiting beliefs around about money, aren't there?
Absolutely.
I mean, when I think of some of the beliefs that I've come in contact with, there's certainly in the environment I worked in, there was a real sense that profit was a sin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
that money mindset, that whole thing, you're right. Our stories that we have that imprinted.
Money is the root of all evil.
Yeah. Money doesn't grow on trees.
It's the rich man who's always the bad one in the movies, and he usually gets killed first.
Kind of greedy.
Yeah. But that's not a truth, is it? Because, money's a river. And money flows. It's always on the move. At the moment, it's pretty sludgy because it's not moving much in this economy. But that money's going to flow to you or flow to someone else, because I tell you, it's going to flow somewhere.
yeah.
So, you may as well create a situation where money flows to you, especially if you're going to need it for your aging. And I think you both are absolutely right that there's huge self-limiting beliefs about money.
Yeah. So where do you think we got all those beliefs? And I'm looking down at my notes here for some of the other ones. People are poor because they're lazy. Those quote filthy rich people. Money doesn't grow on trees. There's never enough. Profit is sinful. I mean, there's all these things. So where do you think that comes from?
It even takes me back to that TV show at Christmas. Is it The Christmas Carol? Where the boss is the stingy, mean guy. And the workers are all poverty-stricken.
But if you go back to our society, and you look at the roots of Christianity, and I'm not going to a religious thing, that's something you shouldn't ever talk about, but poverty is one of the tenets of Christianity that should be aspired to. I mean, you're meant to be poor, and I think a huge number of our self-limiting beliefs come from that whole tenet that you should be poor and humble, and that's the good thing to be. And I think we pay a huge price for that. And hey, don't talk to me and come to me saying I'm anti-Christian or whatever, but I think that's the ethos, and that underlies an awful lot of our society. Mm-hmm. Also, if you're poor, you're much easier to control politically. It's much easier to control you if you're poor. It's not so easy to control you if you have money, because then you're much more independent. And I think those two things underlie centuries of our history.
So
even in the Zen, all of the monks, Buddhist monks, they all live in, I guess we won't say poverty, but they have nothing, right? They have nothing.
But they expect other people to give them stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Come on, let's be truthful here.
Yeah, they do. They get their money.
Yeah,
You know, I also think, you know, to reframe it into an evolved economy, you know, in terms of aging, like evolving beyond just what Lowell Ann, what you were saying, the way we've been raised, the messages we've heard in the media from our parents, from our friends, it's just all out there all over the place. And thinking back, what's your first experience with money as a kid, you know, as a student in university, as an adult, and as we get older. So evolving and you know, shifting our perspective, a new paradigm is really what's needed. And I just want to, Sue said something earlier that really reminded me. Another thing I'm seeing besides the downsizing, and it's said in the same sentence often, is I'm not going to be able to retire when I thought I could. Right. And then, you know, in this next breath, like, I think we're going to have to downsize, and we got to make some really big changes, you know, if we're going to get through this in any semblance of order that we have now in our lives. So that's another one that I hear as well, is just that fear of retiring, because, whoa, what's next?
Well, and I think that society has been hoodwinked into thinking that that you only need to work for this period of your life, and that you can sit and what's that Freedom 55 thing?
Freedom 99.
Well, but you know, I mean, if you look at there are other societies on this planet where people never stop. You just don't stop.
Yeah.
The concept of retirement doesn't seem to be a useful concept.
I mean,
you know, and the thing. Go ahead, Sue.
No, I was just going to say quickly. Historically, retirement only came in the 1930s officially, when, you know, pensions and everything. So FDR brought it in the United States in 1935. It came in a little bit earlier in England in the 20s. But this is a recent phenomenon. And you're right, Lowell Ann. It's going out the window again, and we're back to having to basically generate income forever.
Mm-hmm. You know, and the retirement thing, just hopping back to the retirement thing just for a second, you know, there are people whose jobs really are unfulfilling, and it is just that 9-to-5 treadmill. And it is a shame to see that they don't have the option of stepping off that treadmill and relaxing and enjoying the fruits of their labor, you know, all the years that they have worked. So again, I think that's where it comes back to getting creative and tapping into what resources do they have that get ingenious and put themselves in another line of work. Or like, I like the online group program idea, that sort of thing. There's lots of options out there. Yeah, it's a big market.
But Sue and Nancy, I mean, those ideas really mean that there's another aspect here that I mean we haven't really sort of tapped into. I mean, yes, we can figure out how to do something online. We can go into this, but it means that we have to continuously be learning.
Yep.
Yeah. We cannot be going out and trying out these new things without having to learn new approaches and new technologies and learning new skills. And there's another mindset thing there that says, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well,
sorry, the old dog has to learn new tricks. There's one. There's Alvin Toffler wrote the book Future Shock. Future Shock, not Future Shock. That's where you buy your gizmos. Future Shock back in the 70s. And he said, and this is a real truth, that the illiterate of the future will not be those who cannot read, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that is absolute truth. He was phenomenal at looking forward into this future. And that's the truth. So, you know, sorry, you're going to have to relearn. That's it. I'm very glad, you know, but it really is a truth.
And it's an excellent point, because at the same time, in the work that I do with people, when they are actively using their mental capacity and stretching their beyond their limits, perhaps in a good, safe way, that's going to keep them more, functioning longer. That Alzheimer's, dementia, all of those things are scary. And, as people age, you want to age in a way, as we've talked in the past, that's of good quality. Mm-hmm. And by keeping your mind active, by being a lifelong learner and being open and receptive to new ideas, and again, there's another myth that people get stuck in their ways and are unable to budge. You have to be open, and you have to be resilient and always learning, keeping that mind going. And again, there's a good reason to get up in the morning, because ideally you're very excited about what it is that's coming up for you that day. That
you're learning. And there's another piece here that it strikes me. I mean, you kind of hinted at it, Nancy, when you talked about some people sort of saying, well, they're thinking about downsizing. But this whole materialism that we bought into, mm-hmm. In North America at least, and we're seeing other parts of the world now beginning to really buy into that, and that's a slippery slope. I mean, I think about myself as I was in my higher income earning years. I was spending way too much money on things that really didn't have any meaning.
Yeah.
And so, having to have this humongous big house and all the trappings and so forth and so on. And I mean, our North American lifestyle buys into that 100%. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, so again, I guess we're back to the very first conversation the three of us had was mindset, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's true. Mindset, I think, is the common denominator in this whole topic. Mm-hmm. On every level, in terms of their health, their finances, their life, how they live their life, on and on and on. Mm. Yeah, mindset.
You're right. It is the most important determinant of your life and your future, without any doubt.
Mm-hmm. So, well, that's sort of a good place to kind of end in a sort of a way. I know that we all agreed that there are lots of money. There's lots of and there are lots of emotions, and there's a whole belief system around what keeps us from moving forward financially. But I'm actually looking at my notes here and saying, like, if we're going to figure out what financial contentment really is for us, there are certain factors that need to come up, and a couple of things that I wrote down. Whatever it is that we do has to fit our value system in some way. Mm-hmm. And the other piece was that all of this is not about stuff.
Yeah.
And sort of being able to think of money, I guess, Sue, you kind of alluded to that it's just money is just a tool.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of us think of money as being all wound up in power. Mm. So, yeah. I mean, when we sort of unpack all these things, there's nothing simple in this life, is there?
No. Downsize, have a big garage sale, start a savings account. Yeah, it's shifting our expectations about what we need and what our life is supposed to look like with the material trappings.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Pretty excessive.
And also, you're right, they're looking for money, but what they really want is what money gives them. As you're saying, it's a tool. So what they want is to be able to have enough financial resources so they can live with peace of mind. So really, the money that leads you to financial freedom, that leads you to what you really want, which is peace of mind.
Yeah, security, feeling secure.
So all of this takes us right back to Maslow's hierarchy of learning.
Yes.
So, and we did agree that at some, I mean, in our next installment, that we would take this conversation a little bit further and start, you know, looking at some ideas about how that, you know, what we could do, because some of us have planned out things reasonably well, but a lot of us haven't. And so at this point in our lives, what options are open to us? What could we be doing? So I think that would be a good conversation for us to have next time. Do either one of you have a picture in your mind of where you'll be when you're 120?
I'll be sitting on top of this rock looking at the ocean in a nice, comfortable home that is simply decked out. Very simple. Very simple. Doesn't have to be, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Nancy. I would like still to be where I am now. I have a very simple apartment. I've told my kids, my life is minimalistic. When I die, it'll all be sorted out, and there's only a teeny bit of stuff in the storage unit. You don't need stuff. I've already got rid of all my stuff, and I tell you, it's a great feeling. And I just hope I'll still be here with a beautiful view of the ocean, and I'm very fortunate now, and I hope at 120, I can still just get up.
Yeah.
So I think that all three of us probably see things in the same way, that we will continue to be extremely active, growing, learning, staying on top of where things are going instead of looking back and moaning about the past, but looking forward from a very positive perspective. So I look forward to our next conversation where we really sort of examine some actual things that people could do right now at this stage.
Excellent.
So, right on. So thank you both for joining me. I enjoyed this conversation. I thought it was interesting, very interesting. And Sue, I loved your statistics. Thank you for them. It sure does help put everything in context.
I didn't know where those came from.
Yeah. And Nancy, I love your optimism.
No, thank you.
Right. So I think we'll close now with a reminder that a month from today, we'll on a Sunday, we will resume this conversation. So signing off for now, this is Lowell Ann, business coach and being your own CEO moderator. So bye for now.
Bye-bye.